Hi, my name is Alejandro Perez, and this is the AI Coffee Podcast. Every week we will have one episode regarding one disruptive aspect of technologies for the time to drink a cup of coffee. Today, in this episode, we are going to be alone, you and me. It is going to be a little bit special because this episode is the end of the first season of the AI Coffee Podcast. I am really excited to create this episode because, I was making a lot of interviews for a lot of time, a lot of months, a lot of weeks, and it was a really inspiring opportunity to learn from others. But also, I wanted to create one episode myself to explain to you, to my audience, what's behind everything, what's going to be next, and also the opportunities that this journey of content creation made to me. So this episode is going to be about that. We are not going to learn maybe a lot of things about artificial intelligence. It's going to be maybe more an episode about the podcast itself. But I hope that it's going to be also inspiring for you, to motivate you also to know more, to enlarge your mindset, and also to create content. Why not? So that's my experience, and I hope it will be useful for you. So, how can I start talking about this podcast? Well, you might have already listened to maybe all of the podcasts, all of the episodes I created, or even some. So you might have seen that during the first episodes, I was alone explaining a concept or some concepts about artificial intelligence. So for instance, the first one was focused on bias, but then I must confess that at the beginning I was considering only to create 5 episodes. That was like my first challenge. So I said to me, okay, I should create 5 episodes before I start to analyze what I am creating. So I started with the first 5 episodes, and then I said to myself, okay, let's do another one. Then I started to create another kind of episodes with interviews. So I started with Carlos. Greetings to him if he's listening this. It was a really fantastic opportunity to discuss about ChatGPT before everyone was talking about this amazing tool that, of course, nowadays everyone knows. But it was like a great opportunity to discuss, and I really liked the feeling of discussing, of interviewing, and also of learning from another person. So I decided to continue doing this because it was really inspiring for me, and also because of your statistics, the numbers were saying that you like it also, this kind of content. So I decided to continue in this way. So that's why all the rest of the episodes were related to interviews and not me explaining one topic. So then I was like planning, okay, let's arrive until the 15th episode. But I realized that it wasn't enough because I really wanted to create a lot of interviews. I was already talking to many different people. And one magical thing is that almost everyone accepted to come to the podcast. All of the guests were really easy accepting the challenge of being here. And I said to me, okay, let's arrive until the 20th episode. Let's arrive until a big number, 20, and let's stop there, the first season, and then let's consider another season later, or let's create something maybe different later, or let's see. But you know what it happened? I met Nieves, the last guest to this podcast, and Nieves was really fantastic, really kind. She was only available in April to make the interview. So as I wanted really her to come and join the AI Coffee podcast in this first season, I said to me, okay, let's enlarge a little bit until she will be able to join it, and let's try to do so. So I plan to do some more interviews, and they were really good ones. So I'm really happy that I was able to arrive until here. But now in the 23rd, I should say that, okay, that's a moment to stop. So why I need to stop now? As I said to you, it's really an inspiring thing to create a podcast. I must confess it that I'm really happy and thankful that I am able to do so. But the point is like I need to change some things. Well, the first thing is that I need to create a system to organize myself better, because creating a new episode every week is a little bit challenging. So maybe it's not visible, but I need to study a lot of things from the person itself and also from the background of the person to be able to be on the point to make the interview. So for instance, if we are talking about personalized medicine or quantum mechanics, I need to study some concepts to be able to make the good questions. So I need to take usually like 1 or 2 hours to study and learn from the experience of this person, and also 1 hour more to create the questions. And also, I mean, there are some questions that I think they are really good ones sometimes. So I usually focus on these. As you might see, for instance, I like to ask usually about inspirational advices, because I think that's an important point. And me, myself, as a podcast lover, I like when usually people make these kind of messages in the podcast I listen. So I said to me that that's also a good point. So I mean, I usually try also to make some time for these messages. But the point is, like, I mean, it takes a lot of time for me to create these questions, this path. Also then for me to edit the episode itself, to create a copy of the episode I put in as the notes of the episode in the Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever. Also the LinkedIn part, the newsletter. I mean, it takes a lot of time for me to do it manually. And what I want to do now is to create a system with artificial intelligence, actually. And after all of these steps, of course, I will show you how I'm doing. But the point is, like, I want to automatize as much as possible for being only focusing on the podcast itself. That it's what I like, and I think what makes me valuable, and not copying, pasting the questions to another place, or maybe creating the description on these things. So I will try also to work on that. I already did some tests with Whisper AI, with the transcription, then with other NLP models. So to create, for instance, like the notes of the episode and these things. And I think it's also a quite challenging thing. But I mean, I need some time to make a stop now, to think how I want to create the content, how to be more sustainable, because now there is like a lot of effort also on editing the podcast. So the first ones, it was me alone that was editing all the podcast, which was a lot of effort on time. And wow, it's amazing, even like a 20 or 30 minutes episode, how much time it takes to be edited. So hopefully I have Jose helping me. Greetings to Jose if he's listening this. And thanks to him, I was able to edit like quicker, and he helped me a lot with this. So it was also a good point. But I mean, why not to use an AI model to support me instead of a person? Maybe let's try to create a system that could help me to focus on the content itself, that it's what I like, and I think also creates the real value. So that's the first point that I should tell you. And also, I would say that I need to stop until September with this podcast, because, well, when this episode is going to be published, it's going to be the beginning of May. But you know, during May and June, I should work on another project, because during these weeks, I will be working on my master thesis. Well, you already know that I am studying a master about artificial intelligence for public services. There are some guests that are teachers or students for this master, but this master ends at the end of June, and I should work on this project. And this is like a big project I want to face. I will explain you later. I'm really, really passionate about this, but I need to work on that. And with all of this effort I'm making to promote and create the podcast, I am not able to do so. So I should stop for these 2 months. And then during summer, I really want to have some holidays. So yeah, I need to recharge my batteries, to be honest. And also I need to take time to think about these things I was telling you, this new system, to create content with a more sustainable method. So yeah, that's more or less my times. So I maybe start the second season during September. If you have any kind of comment or something, you can always contact me, and I'm reachable, but I need to focus on other topics. So that's why I need to stop for now. But, you know, I'm really sad, because creating this podcast makes me really happy. But I mean, sometimes it's important to make a pause, to stop for a while, and to concentrate on improvements. So that's more or less the idea. So, my master thesis, I'm really, really passionate about that. It's maybe something I will explain you, well, at the end of the summers. But the idea is that I want to study how to use artificial intelligence models to support the welfare systems for developing countries to be able to have, let's say, artificial intelligence teachers or doctors to grant like an universal access to the culture. I don't want to say that I want to replace teachers or doctors, like human ones, because I think it's impossible. But what I'm thinking more is how to create, let's say, a security net for these children, for instance, that are in developing countries without access to an educational system, or even in all of these crises of, I mean, maybe if there is a volcano or there is like a war, a conflict or something, what about these children that they are not going to have access to a human teacher for a while, or to even access to medicine? So why maybe not using artificial intelligence to support these people during this period? So I know that they are not going to be as good as a human one, but why if this artificial intelligence doctors, teachers, and more could be, let's say, like a minimal way to sustain the welfare system for these specific and weird occasions? So I will study this, and that's the approach now I have, but I need to concentrate a little bit more to focus more on this. So I don't know what's going to be at the end. Maybe I could create something like a first approach of this idea. But well, let me know what do you think about this topic, about this idea, if you think it's interesting, or maybe if you want me to explain you a little bit better my approach. Yeah, also in the podcast for the next season, I am planning to create content also in Spanish. I'm Spanish, so Spanish is my mother language, and I am creating content in English because, well, you saw during this first season that some of the people I wanted to interview are not from Spain. Some they are, but some they are not. So, yeah, it would be impossible to make the interviews in Spanish. But now, I'm also thinking why not to create content in my mother language, because, well, I have the feeling that sometimes there is like more new content for AI in English than in Spanish. There is like a lot of people talking Spanish in the world that also would take profit of this knowledge. So I am also planning to create this kind of content in Spanish in parallel. So maybe in September, but I said maybe because I need also to create a strategy. But the idea is that I would maybe publish one episode in Spanish, and then the next week in English, and then in Spanish, and so on. And I'm also thinking of creating podcast in video. That's a trendy thing. It could be also great because with this I would be able to create maybe reels and shorts on TikTok videos, or even publish them in YouTube directly, which is a good point for SEO. So maybe I will do that way, but I need also to be prepared for that. And if you have any kind of suggestions, let me know, because everything is accepted at this moment. It's a good thing also to say. So just to finish, I would say why creating content was a really good opportunity for me. When I was starting this, I told you before, I wasn't even able to think how it will be going. So yeah, I was thinking, okay, let's create something, let's try. I bought a microphone, and then I said, okay, now because I bought this microphone, which is quite expensive. It's not really, really expensive, but it was like 70 euros or something. So I said, okay, I need to create content and to start and use this microphone. So that pushed me a lot to create it, and it was really great. So I was brave enough to push myself to create this. And then when I started the interviews, I saw myself that after every interview, it was like a huge amount of energy that I was having after. And I was like really, really feeling successful, because it was like, oh my God, I interviewed this person, and I'm learning a lot. And it's like, wow, what an amazing interview I did. And yeah, and then something really amazing happened. Is like, I'm a big fan of Olga. Olga, it's the guest of the 17th episode, I think. And I'm a big fan of her content. And I contacted her And she accepted really quickly to join the podcast and to talk about marketing, even though it was like her first podcast in English. So I'm really happy and thankful that she was able to join it. But yeah, it's a quite inspiring story that I wanted to share because it was like, oh my God, Olga, one of the persons I'm following since a lot of time, is going to join the podcast. So yeah, it was really a magical moment for me. And that moment I was feeling really successful. But then for the next guest, it was more or less the same because there are like many people that really easily accepted to join. So I'm really happy, really thankful to be able to discuss with you, to take 1 hour of your time. Thank you very much. I think it was worth it for me, for you, and for us, for the world. So thank you very much. But yeah, it was like one of the main opportunities I had. And then why not? Why not to tell you that because I was creating this content, my personal and professional brand was improved. So I was able to create one course of generative AI in Spanish for one academy for freelance, one of the main ones I would say in Spanish. And I created one course. I sold it. I mean, I earned some money because of that. And I'm really happy because, I spend a lot of time and money creating these episodes, and I don't have any kind of sponsors, but yeah, it's something I wanted to share with you, that thanks to this I was able to monetize it and to create content in a very different way. So I'm really happy and really thankful because of that. So yeah, I don't want to say really words now about go create content, create something that inspires you, because I think that's something really personal. I think everyone needs to find his or her own time and way to express herself or himself. But it really worked for me. It made me braver for asking people to talk with me, like through Instagram, through Twitter, through LinkedIn. It also made me meet really interesting and lovely and kind and really amazing people. Some of them are the guests, some others are other content creators that I am meeting in different places. Even though there is not like thousands or millions of people listening the podcast, I think it's worth it because it made me know people, learn a lot, and also it improved a lot my personal brand. So it's a really interesting thing I suggest you to think about. And during these months, I recommend you to make something, even though it's a tweet, even though it's a video for Instagram explaining what you do at your work or what you want to do or your dreams maybe. Yeah, I recommend you to do so, to test yourself, to see how is your energy after that, and then you will maybe learn something from you. And that's my main message from this season. Try it, test it, learn from this, and yeah, don't be shy because I think everyone has an inspiring story inside himself or herself. So thank you very much. See you soon. Have a nice summer. Have a nice spring. And yeah, let's meet in September with a lot of energy, a lot of dreams came true maybe. And yeah, see you soon. Bye bye. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here one more week. If you liked it, please subscribe to the podcast and to the newsletter in alejandroperezperez.com. Please share both with your friends and relatives, and don't forget to give me 5 stars in Apple Podcast and Spotify. See you next week. Bye bye.